Hey y'all! Pokemon Red using only one Ammonite was mathed up. However, this week is going to be really special. It's my 100th Pokemon Challenge video, and I'm going to try to beat Pokemon Red using only one Abra. As usual, the rules are we can only use one Abra in battle, and I can't use any items in battle. By the way, if you like this kind of content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe and check out more of these videos on my channel. Abra is a Pokemon best known for running away from battle using the move Teleport. In fact, that's the only move it learns by level up. Enjoyers of Pokemon Go will no doubt be shaking their fist at Abra for all the times it broke out of a Pokeball and immediately ran away. Abra was also prominently featured in the anime as one of the Psychic Gym leader Sabrina's Pokemon. And man, Psychic types sure were overpowered in that part of the anime. Seemed almost unfair. The Abra evolutionary line also gives a subtle nod to the famous magician Uri Geller, known for bending spoons. Fun little side note, Uri Geller filed a lawsuit preventing the Pokemon Company from publishing Kadabra onto trading cards for almost 20 years, and only recently, after all these years, did he drop the complaint. More like Uri Dweller on the past. Oh boy, as for this game, well, Abra is interesting. It doesn't learn any offensive moves by level up, and Teleport doesn't do any damage, so we have to wait for a TM before we can really get things rolling. But hey, once we do get some TMs, well, Abra's stats are kind of lopsided, but it has really great special and speed. I mean, the other stats are terrible, so things are going to be interesting. But once we get the TM for Psychic almost halfway through the game, well, you'll see. Alright, time to see if Abra will be magic or tragic. Let's do this. Off at Professor Oak's lab, I used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Charmander with Abra so that our rival will pick Squirtle. By the end of the run, the rival will have a Blastoise that is really bulky, plus an Exeggutor, which resists Psychic, so that should make the run as hard as possible. Abra is a magician-based Pokemon known for doing escape routines, so I nickname ours Pen and Teleport. Okay, so right away, you can see the problem with this challenge. Abra starts off with only the move Teleport, which doesn't do damage in battle, so there's no way for us to win the first rival battle with Bubs. And that's great, because I'm definitely not going to need to level up against Brock, and I definitely don't want all the experience I can get. We don't need to win this battle to progress, but still, always nice to start things off with a resounding failure. This challenge is going to be a real struggle. And speaking of struggle, that's how we have to level up. I head to the Viridian Forest and encounter wild Pokemon while using Teleport to flee the battle. And once all of our Teleport BP is gone, we wait to encounter Kakuna or Metapod before using Struggle to knock them out. Since they can't attack us and only use Harden, this gives the biggest ratio of experience to damage taken. And that's all fine and well, but the bigger issue here is that we need to minimize the number of times we heal at a Pokemon Center, because doing so will restore Teleport's BP, meaning we have to start the whole process over again. That's the Ledger main issue here, and I also have to be careful to try to gain as much experience as possible before using a potion to restore HP. Since we have very limited money to buy potions, we cannot waste a single point of HP. And I'm not going to show you all the grinding. I mean, unless you want this to be like one of those 10-hour lo-fi and chill videos, it wouldn't be all that exciting. Alright, let's just move on to Brock for now. So, now you see me, now you don't. Okay, so I did this method to level up for a while, and at level 15, I decided to just try the Brock battle and see how it goes. I don't expect to do well, but I need a break from grinding, and this seems like a fun way to feel bad about myself. We're still fighting with Struggle, but unlike the Kakuna and Metapod in the woods, Brock's Pokemon can actually fight back, so that's not good. And we barely do any damage to Geodude. It looks like we're only doing about 1 point of damage. And in fact, since Struggle has to do a minimum of 1 point of recoil of damage per attack, we're trading hit points 1 for 1 with each Struggle. Yeah, this just ain't happening. Brock's rocks have us Philosophers stonewalled. I'm gonna cut to the chase here. I spent several more hours grinding against bugs in the woods, and after a grueling climb to level 25, I decided to try again. It's going better, but not much better. We're doing a little more damage than before, and it also helps that Abra lands multiple critical hits thanks to its high base speed stat. Still, we can't even get past the Geodude, so gotta go back to the woods for more grinding. After another 5 agonizing levels, I'm back, trying it again. Keep in mind that since about level 15, we ran out of money for potions, so every single time we get low on health, we have to go heal at the Pokemon Center, and then deplete our teleport beep all over again. So we get about 150 to 250 experience per heal? Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. But even at this high level, I'm still failing miserably. But honestly, I refuse to grind anymore. I cannot do it. Plus, I paid the math department for this channel a little extra to run some calculations, and they told me that with a decent number of critical hits and some really lucky move selections from Onix, this battle should be possible at this level. I also figure I'd rather spend time resetting this battle than beating up bugs, so this is how we're doing things. And after an hour of trying this battle level 30, I finally managed to make it past Brock's Rocks. And thank God! Not only am I done with this wretched affair, but Brock gives us the TM for Bide, which, for our purposes, is just a better version of Struggle. At least I can finally heal at Pokemon Centers, too. I've finally been Sig-freed, and Roy does it feel good. Now I've finally made it to Cerulean City, and along the way, Mount Moon gave us a gift with the TM for Mega Punch. It's a pretty strong normal type move, although it is somewhat inaccurate, and while Abra's attack stat is really friggin' low, we're a high enough level that it actually does decent chunks to most Pokemon. Although it's not strong enough to defeat Starmie, but don't worry, just like a magician hiding chocolate in his jacket, I've got some Twix up my sleeves. Depending on her move choice, Bide is able to 1-hit KO Misty's Starmie, and compared to the battle with Brock, this battle was an absolute miracle. Misty's mad because she feels like she's been tricked, but all Abra did was ask her to pick a cod. She likes fish. Get it? After pounding Misty's Starfish, it's time to meet up with Bubs on Nugget Bridge and beat him, or as I like to call it, a meet and beat. I lost this battle a couple of times thanks to Mega Punch's intrinsic inaccuracy, combined with Pidgeotto's sand attack lowering it further. Luckily for me, if we get past the Pidgeotto without taking a sand attack, then Abra has an advantage against the rest of Bubs' team, thanks to our higher level. We make the rest of his Pokemon vanish into smoke, and I'm sorry Bubs, but there are no returns without proof of purchase. Aboard the SS Anne, we have ourselves a back-to-back Bubs battle, but this time, things are different. And no, it's not what I usually say here, where we teach our Pokemon the TM for Body Slam that we got on the boat. Abra does learn it, but I'm thinking I might want to save that for later. No, instead, up on Nugget Bridge, I picked up the TM for Seismic Toss. It's a move that deals damage equal to the user's level, and since we're a higher level thanks to Brock, it's actually quite strong here. None of Bubs' Pokemon have more than 70 HP, so Seismic Toss 2-hit KOs all of his Pokemon. And it might seem like a cheap strategy, but at the end of the David, I will not be copper fielding any complaints. Now it's time to take on Lieutenant Surge for the Thunder Badge, and this one's actually kind of important for once. Technically, you can skip this badge until you want to challenge the Radiant City Gym, which requires all 7 of the other badges, but I want it now because the Thunder Badge boosts defense, and Abra needs all the extra bulk it can get. Thankfully, Surge's Pokemon don't really do anything to Abra, so this battle is really easy using Seismic Toss. But you know, with all the grinding I had to do to get here, I'm actually getting pretty hungry. Time to get myself some Levitator Tots. After crawling through the darkened rock tunnel, I arrive in Lavender Town to take on the rival Bubs in the Pokemon Tower. I made a short detour to Saffron City to grab the TM for Psychic from Mr. Psychic. He tried to read my tarot cards while I was there, but I didn't need him to because I can actually read tarot cards myself. Haha, bet you weren't predicting that. I'm full of surprises. Anyways, now that we have the Psychic TM, we are absolutely wrecking everything that doesn't resist Psychic, which is just Psychic types, and there aren't many of those in this game. And now that we've got Psychic, you've got to sleight of hand it to Abra. Bubs never stood a chance. Now I'm back to Celadon City to slap around Erica's Pokemon real quick for the Rainbow Badge. And with this single move upgrade, you can see it makes such a big difference. Abra slams her whole team, even the Tangela that isn't weak to Psychic. And good golly, Miss Molly, I can't believe how much easier this challenge has now become that we finally have a powerful move. We used to have trouble finishing battles, but Psychic is like a magic wand. And if Erica is having trouble finishing her battles, maybe she should try using a magic wand herself. Pen again, I don't want to tell her how to live her life. Now it's time to take on Giovanni in the Team Rocket Game Corner hideout on the other side of town. And if Erica was easy, then you know we're about to blow Giovanni out of the water. He's basically a simulation of how the battle with Brock would have gone if only we had a special move to start off with. Hey, wait a minute. Maybe us beating Giovanni super hard here with a Psychic type is what caused his obsession with creating the ultimate Psychic type Pokemon Mewtwo. Nah, it's not like he could do anything about it anyways. After all, Giovanni is no magician. He's just a Kangaskhan con artist. Speaking of another trainer who absolutely gets wrecked by Psychic types, next up is the Fuchsia City Gym Leader Koga and his posse of poison Pokemon. I'm pretty sure Koga's Pokemon get double KO'd by Psychic, that's how strong Abra is. And look, even if we weren't at such a high level thanks to Brock, Abra would still absolutely destroy Koga. What can a ninja do against a telekinetic powerhouse anyways? And, like seriously, did Koga think he could actually beat us? Can you believe it? The cups and balls on this guy, eh? What am I doing here? Joe Pesci? Joe Pesci? Alright. After beating Koga, it's time for yet another rival battle with Bubs in the Sylph Company building in Saffron City. And this battle wasn't really tough, but it was definitely harder than the last time we squared off. For starters, his Pudgeot can bypass our speed with Quick Attack, and all of its physical attacks actually really hurt since we have such low defense and HP. We also struggle to damage Bubs' Execute since it resists Psychic and raises its defense with Reflect when we already have pretty pitiful attack. Plus, and this doesn't come into play here, but Alakazam also resists Psychic, can also raise its defense with Reflect, and can also use Recover. Since trainers in this game have infinite BP, if we don't do more than half of its health with any attack or get special drops with Psychic, it's possible to run out of PP for Psychic and get completely walled by this thing. Eventually though, Blastoise hits us with a piddly little water gun for next to no damage, so Abra cleans up the battle, but I can already predict Bubs being a problem in the near future. Not sure where that feeling's coming from though. I can't quite pinpoint the Sorcerer. One trainer that I'm not worried about at all though is Giovanni, and he might be terrorizing the Sylph Company president, but Abra's about to show him who's boss. Psychic cuts through Giovanni's team like a saw cuts through an underpaid magician's assistant, and there's nothing he can do about it. Barely anything can survive a Psychic from Abra anyways, and it doesn't help our opponents that 18% of the time, Abra just gets a critical hit. And you would have thought that Giovanni would have learned his lesson after our last battle, but I guess he never saw it coming. Ah boy. You know, pretty sure the comments are going to be split on some of these jokes. Sabrina is a bit too tricky for us to defeat at the moment, so I guess it's time to head to the Cinnabar Island Gym to take on the Fire Leader Blaine. Beating him will help us against Sabrina since the Volcano Badge gives a boost to our special. And Blaine actually can beat us since his Arcanine can survive Psychic and smash us pretty hard with Takedown. His Growlithe and Ponyta though both get 1 KO'd by Psychic, and while his Rapidash could have attacked us, Blaine wastes his chance to attack by using a Super Potion. Here comes the Arcanine. And will it go for Takedown? Oh well, I guess we'll never know. Turns out Blaine was more like David Blaine, because his fire Pokemon were all just smoke and mirrors. The Volcano Badge is our 6th badge, so we can't access Viridian City Gym until we beat Sabrina, but that's easier said than done. For starters, all of her Pokemon besides Venomoth resist Psychic, and furthermore, her lead Kadabra always goes for Disable, and if it disables Seismic Toss, this battle becomes even harder than before. Mr. Mime can also raise its defense with Reflect and Barrier, so Seismic Toss ends up being the fastest way to take it down, as long as it's not disabled of course. Venomoth goes down in a single Psychic, but then there's the final boss Alakazam. I see Sabrina is also a fan of magician-based Pokemon. I guess you should call her Misdirection. Yeah, first off, Psychic does very little since it resists, and even though our Telekinetic Fox has high special, hers has even more. And her Alakazam also reduces Body Slam's damage with Reflect, and what's even worse is that even with our relatively high level, Seismic Toss does not do at least half of Alakazam's HP, meaning that she can continuously heal more damage with Recover than we can deal. Even with Psychic dropping her special stat a couple of times, eventually we run out of Psychic BP and we come dangerously close to running out of Seismic Toss BP before full paralysis luck finally lets us knock the dang thing out. Good lord! That was longer and more pointless than your weird uncle trying to show you a card trick that he barely remembers from 30 years ago. Now it's time for the final showdown with Giovanni for a final badge. And do I even need to narrate this one for you? Giovanni gets cut up by Psychic like a piece of rope, and no amount of magic is going to join the pieces back together. His Pokemon go down one after the other, and even when the Rhydon manages to survive a Psychic, it's so shaken up from watching its comrades get decimated that it goes for Tail Whip, which technically makes our Psychic stronger thanks to the additional badge boost that it gives us. Don't worry though, Rhydon, that Tail Whip wasn't completely uncalled for. I too sometimes shake my butt when I'm nervous. Anyways, Giovanni is as competent as he is Italian, which is to say, not at all. He's as fake as that restaurant owner from Bob's Burgers, Jimmy Pesto. Hey, I like that. Presto! We beat Jimmy Pesto. Before we can take on the Elite Four, we have to battle the rival Bubs once again. Thus continues the pattern of us beating Bubs in the first try, but he is noticeably more difficult than the last time. The Pudgeot does significant damage with Quick Attack, and while Rhyhorn and Growlithe go down easy, the Execute still tanks our attacks. It wastes his time by going for a potion, which, I mean at this point, really? Potion? But still, I just know Exeggutor is going to be a problem. Unlike Sabrina's Alakazam, Bubs' actually tries to fight us, which significantly reduces the time it takes to knock it out, but also means we take more damage and are left dangerously close to getting knocked out ourselves. Blastoise's bite would have done us in, but he uses Withdraw and goes down to another Psychic. And we win by the skin of our teeth, or as I like to call it, Plaque Magic. With all 8 gym badges in hand, the doors to the Elite Four open wide just like my stomach at a Chinese buffet, or as I like to call it, Open Sesame. Alright, here are the stats and moves, and you'll notice that I finally replaced the move Teleport with Mimic. I didn't ever need Teleport in the first place, I just kept it there for thematic reasons. But I will say that Mimic will definitely come in handy for the Elite Four. This is honestly the first part of the run since beating Brock, where Abra gets to face off with worthy challengers. So, will Pen and Teleport be able to win? Or will the Elite Four fool us? Let's find out. Up first is Lorelei, and right away you can tell that things are way different than before. With the move Mimic, we can copy the move Amnesia from the Slowbro to maximize our special stat and blast through her Pokemon with Psychic. But first we gotta get to the Slowbro, and that's easier said than done. Don't forget, we have really low HP and defense, so Cloyster actually does a lot of damage with Spike Cannon. In fact, it hit so hard, it might have even snapped Abra's spine in half, or as I like to call it, Brocus Pocus. With a couple more tries, we get to the Slowbro, albeit with low health. And while I'm boosting with Amnesia, Slowbro is also lowering our attack with Growl, which thanks to the way the badge boosts work in this game, raises our special stat even more. And for those that don't know, in this game, every time your stats are modified, the boosts to your stats from the badges are reapplied. And with all these boosts, Abra 1-hit KOs the rest of Lorelei's Pokemon, 2 of which even resist Psychic. Looks like that strategy worked like a charm. Alchemy, oh my. With Lorelei defeated, it's time to take on Bruno. Alrighty y'all, this battle is an absolute joke. I don't even need to use badge boost for this one. I mean, how many Pokemon does Bruno have on his team? The correct answer is the same number of turns that this battle lasts, because Psychic absolutely blasts through his Pokemon. You would expect as much from the fighting types that are weak to it, but even the Onix, which are neutral to Psychic, go down like it's nothing. Yeah, they're just that bad. Like a third-rate carnival magician hopped up on Goof Juice. One of those guys once asked me to pick a card, but joke's on him, I picked his credit card. Now it's time for the Elite Four member Agatha, who normally is arguably the worst of the Elite Four members, but not today, y'all. Agatha's entire team is weak to Psychic, and with her whole Pokemon Graveyard motif, I am more than happy to oblige. Abra outspeeds and 1-hit KOs most of her Pokemon, except of course for her last Pokemon, which is the higher level of the Gengar. It not only outspeeds Abra, but also survives a Psychic. Plus, it has Nightshade, and its level is more than half of our HP, so it could knock us out first, if she weren't just randomly picking moves and using Toxic instead. I mean, what the hex was she thinking? We absolutely wrecked her, and considering how awful she normally is to us, I don't have any sympathy. Bibbidi bobbidi boo-hoo, Agatha! Next up is the final Elite Four member, Lance the Dragon Master. This battle should be easy just like the rest of them, right? No, of course not. Nothing can ever be that easy. I use a couple of drugs to increase the size of my pee-pee and then head straight into the battle, where you can see the problem. Lance leads off with Gyarados, and Gyarados actually has pretty high special, manages to survive two of our high-octane psychics, but Abra cannot survive Gyarados' Hyper Beam, even without Leer dropping our defense. And even when I do get past the Gyarados, the rest of Lance's Pokemon stop us in our tracks as well. Well, you can't be mad about that. We've had a really long streak of pretty easy battles. Life's like that though. Sometimes you're feeling Mecha Lekka high, and sometimes you're feeling Mecha Heiny low. Okay, so I wanted to know if this battle was made any easier using Badge Boost, so I tried again while using Mimic to copy Agility from the Dragonair that comes out after the Gyarados. This lets us get 3 additional Badge Boosts to Defense and Special, which helps, plus the regular Speed Boost allow us to move before the Aerodactyl, which otherwise outspeeds us. Still, this requires us to leave ourselves open to 4 extra attacks, and it usually doesn't end well. Don't worry though, it's not over just yet. After all, Abra is the real deal, not someone just using and abusing a cheap trick. You're thinking of Warner Brother Records. I use a few rare candies until we reach level 58. This does a few things. First, it turns Psychic into a 2-hit KO against the Gyarados, plus it also gives all of our attacks an additional boost thanks to the way the damage calculation is rounded for Pokemon whose levels end in 0, 3, 5, or 8. And I found out through lots of attempts that badge boosting with agility is definitely the way to go, although it requires a fair amount of luck with the Dragonair using either agility or missing Slam multiple times. Dragonair has a 50% chance to go for one of those moves, and if it goes for Slam, there is a 25% chance that it will miss. So it takes a fair amount of resets, but once we get the boosts, we want to KO the Dragonairs and Aerodactyl with Psychic. Dragonite does survive Psychic, but it also misses a Slam, letting us win the battle without taking a single hit. And that's pretty crazy. Dang near miraculous. Looks like we had a guardian Chris Angel looking after us all along, so there was never any need to mind freak out. Finally, it's time to take on the champion, our rival Bubs. I have high hopes for Abra in this battle, so I figure we can just heal up, restore our pee-pee, and head straight into the battle. And I tried this one several times, but turns out it's pretty difficult. The lead Pudgeot can do a lot of damage with its physical attacks, and we can usually get past the Alakazam, but it can be a real pain, especially if it lowers our special with its own Psychic. Surprisingly, Bubs' Rhydon even survives a Psychic, and it either lowers our already dookie defense or hits us with a devastating physical attack. Arcanine is the first major roadblock. It comfortably survives even a critical hit Psychic, and if it uses Takedown, we are almost guaranteed to lose. Yikes! The great thing about Takedown, though, is that it can miss. Awesome sauce. This, though, is where my earlier prediction comes back to bite me in the proverbial butt. Exeggutor has high special and resist Psychic, plus it has decent enough attack that its Stomps and Barrages really smash Abra hard. And even after using Mimic to copy Alakazam's Recover to heal back our health, Exeggutor wears us down. And this tropical troglodyte really is a problem. And like, where was Bubs hiding this thing the whole time? I guess he must have been palming it. Well, looks like I've gotten myself into a hairy situation, and I need a way out. But I'm sure I can conjure something up. Abra's biggest flaw is that it has terrible defense, which we can actually alleviate using the TM for Reflect. It's a move that effectively halves the damage we take from physical moves, which really helps Abra to stave off all these strong physical attacks. Unlike in later games where Reflect only lasts for 5 turns but works for your whole team, in this game it only works for the Pokemon that uses it, but that's not a problem for a solo Pokemon challenge run. And what's even better is that Reflect will last as long as that Pokemon doesn't faint or switch out. You can see with the Arcanine just how much less damage Takedown does to Abra. Now since it does less than half, I repeatedly recover to rack up recoil damage against the Arcanine so I can 1 KO it with Psychic while keeping my health full for the upcoming Exeggutor. And now that we have Reflect, Abra is able to win the War of Attrition against the Exeggutor. We're faster so we can't be flinched by Stomp, and even when Bubs uses a full restore, it's only a matter of time before we take it down. And once the Blastoise comes out, it's all over. Just look at how little damage Bite does to Abra after Reflect. Psychic makes quick work of the 2-ton turtle, and we clutch out the victory. I should also point out that we could have won this at level 60, so why did I use rare candies to hit level 65 before the battle? Well, I knew by the end, we would reach level 66, which is the number of the beast, and as we all know, magic is the devil's work. And I don't want to get people up in arms, but then again, it's like my old grandpappy used to say, any prestidigitation is good prestidigitation. And with that, the challenge is over. You know, it's a real shame that we spent more time beating Brock than some of the Crystal challenge videos that I've done, because otherwise, I would think Abra were an S-tier challenge run Pokemon. If not for that ridiculous first gym battle with Brock, I'd give this Pokemon a Charla 10 out of 10. As always, I want to thank you all for making it to the end of this video. These videos are a lot of fun, but also a lot of work, so I really do appreciate it. There's a playlist on my channel where you can check out the rest of my Pokemon challenge videos if you want to see those as well. And if you like this kind of content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you'll know right away the next time one of these episodes is uploaded. And if you want early access to these videos and to have your name listed in the credits, consider becoming a member or joining on Patreon. And let me know in the comments what other Pokemon you want to see, and I'll probably do it. Next week, I'll try to beat Pokemon Red using only one Rattata. Abra was a lot, so I'm really glad to be ta-done with this video. So until next time,